So it's not hating on something you can't understand.
There's a lot of factors playing into that.
Exactly, I'm not putting that.
Tell you, Gen Zs have very strong bodies.
My friend, you're going to get to
Some have not even seen weed. They don't know weed is bangy. I mean, there's that type of, you don't know what drugs are and you get into drugs. I think that's where the problem starts.
Every day, you get opinions from people who do drugs monthly. You'll get opinions from people who do drugs yearly, annually. But
the subscription list.
Exactly. As in utakuja, you'll get all the analysis and make a very informed decision about how you want to take your drug use.
I guess so.
But I think that mentality is what raised those beta millennials. Like the ones who you have to.
Not bitter by the
you're talking from your perspective. As we are talking from the perspective of the millennials we've interacted with through our lives. They are the ones who are like, my parents was like this, they were doing this. As if there is no one in rehab.
Okay, I want to know what the limit.
Visit a rehab right now.
There is no Gen Z there who actually Molly and is in rehab.
I will promise you.
True.
I will promise.
Let's go visit a rehab right now. I generally think Generation Z are entitled because there's an expectation of a lot of things for not much input, which is, and when I'm talking about this, I'm talking about this in a workplace perspective. There's an expectation I want to come to work at like 11, have a 4-hour lunch break, and by the way, make sure you pay me really well and give me all these fantastic benefits, which is where I think and I believe entitlement comes in. And I look back to like when I was starting off in my career, you're just so happy and glad you have that opportunity where some of these things are not what you're thinking about. When yes, you've gotten the skills and the experience, I can be a little bit forceful or a little bit vocal about my needs and what I want and what I think an ideal workplace should be.
I don't think Gen Zs are they might be. Mm-hmm. They might be entitled, but that comes in a position where like it's an entitled Gen Z in a workplace when you say is someone who most likely grew up in the upper classes of like society, and then they come to the workplace like their parents spend too much on like school and resources, so wakikuja job they'll be like I need that back. So but a lot of Gen Zs are still on the lower classes of society where wanajituma ile serious. Like I've seen people my age, someone is 22, has like 4 kids, has like 3 jobs. Okay. There's no entitlement in that. That's hustling. That's like really growing up in your really young stages. As in by the time umsiana fika 26,
that's life.
That's what he's really mature. So not most of them might be, but it's still not the case. You have to get to know one person so that you make a conclusive argument. Yeah, that's my take.
Okay, for me, what I can like back up what Bidan has said, but what I can add is, okay, depending on the upbringing of someone, I think so. If I take for example, if my parents worked really hard so that I don't like struggle, I'm not like entitled. That's just a reflection of how my parents brought me up. So you can find a situation where maybe the parent worked so hard so that his child or her child doesn't struggle. But so when this person gets to the workplace and find things are not as easy, I will say like also their upbringing plays a part, because you're just a reflection of how you are brought up.
Tell us.
I agree, because in every generation there's spoiled brats and there's just normal people. So I guess it's because majority of Gen Z are spoiled. Like they are the before generation are their parents, so they worked pretty hard to make life for their children easier. So majority they have been brought up like in very posh wherever. So obviously when they go to a workplace, they expect the same continuation. But if you're just a normal person like me, there's no entitled. There's no entitlement. There was never entitlement in the house. So yeah.
So I guess what I'm trying to understand you guys are saying is that you believe that there are types of Gen Zs who are entitled, and you feel this come from like upper class, middle upper class, like Kenyans or Africans, and those in the lower class are not entitled.
Yeah.
So you think it has something to do with like economic powers and...
Obviously, yeah.
That's very interesting, because I don't know whether I've worked with Gen Zs who have, like a lot of these people in the upper class, or they have parents who provide these things, and work is never like their solution. Like work, I'm like, why am I at work when my parents can give me a lifestyle running their side businesses? These are usually people, maybe middle class, but that's an interesting take from the generation, I guess.
But let me ask, Gen Z is a very big age bracket. There's like Gen Zs who are now 24 years old. It's still the same. Gen Zs wako in a time period where you don't really have that routine where you can go and work 18 hours. Umetoka high school juzi. High school iliko kuamka, you work hard in your studies like design. You'll work hard ukiumekaa chini. Kenye inaingia kwa kichwa ndio, that is where you're working hard. Ukitoka hapo, it's like Gen Z naisha 24, mimi niko 22. I still have 2 years nitoke Gen Z. Bado nitakuwa, lakini anyway, the age bracket it falls in a time where the Gen Zs, when you mnaongelea, wako in a period where they're trying to figure out what is work. Exactly.
And there's unemployment in a country like...
Exactly. Yeah. Kuna unemployment, they can't, like, by the time unafika 20, kitambo ungeweza, like ungeingia workplace ukiwa 18, wanakuonyesha hapa we are working, like really working, you work 20 hours a day hivyo. Na by the time unafika 20 itakuwa ndani yako, like you have to work 20 hours a day. But same, there's unemployment. Most Gen Zs kama mimi, what I do right now, I taught myself in the house nikiwa nimekaa tu chini. So that's not being lazy, ni venye itafika point yenye there's a work ethic yenye is going on that is very like inclusive of every age.
So do you think, I mean, I think your point is very valid. If you have no idea what work looks like, do you think not enough is being done to teach Gen Zs how to work or how to be hard work? And do you agree that hustle for 9 to 5, is that something that's gone? Like, why should a millennial be pushing for it?
It's gone. Kitambo, it's gone. It's true. As in, our parents, when they were in campus, walikuwa nalipwa. As in, there was this boom thing, unajengwa do. You see, as when you go to campus, it's hell, loans from the start. Ukitoka campus, in kitambo, ukitoka campus, as in the workplaces are looking for you. Design, when you graduate, there's this company that will come and pick you, kujeni class yote, come to my company, work, and they'll pay you really well. These days, you get out with your 3 degrees, you'll still be unemployed for like 3 years until when you go look for that job.
Or you become a content creator, and that's not so
Exactly, as in we have to make our own ways.
And those ways that have come up actually are not stable, let me say yet. In fact, it has come up at a time when us were in our 20s and like, that age where people are figuring stuff out. It wasn't there in the past where you can actually take your camera and it's a job. Like kitambo, you had to be seen doing things, like you have to be physically doing something for you to be considered that you're working. But I think also that just comes from a perspective of the people, like the past generation, who think that Gen Z are lazy. Like, if we include everyone, including the like high not profile, but the
1%
upper class.
Upper class.
Yeah, let me say upper class. If we include them plus the lower class, it's because Gen Z have been exposed to more things that they can do rather than just that specific work that, the other generations consider work. So when they see that you're not doing that work that they considered work, which is 9 to 5, basically, you're lazy, you're not doing anything, just taking your iPhone and shooting, like, what are you doing? So I think also that plays a factor in the...
Nice.
I do think millennials glorify suffering because that's like the culture they've been brought up with. If you're not struggling, you're not working hard. So you definitely have to struggle for you to be considered that you're hardworking. But in this generation, people are getting a lot of money without doing a lot. And that's the exposure. Like, umeona mtu anaweza ifanya, si pia unaweza ifanya. So, I guess...
I mean, I'd like to counter that. As a millennial, and as Wangari, I do not like suffering. Like, let's be clear. I like money. I like the economic empowerment that working hard, there's a return to it. Like, I am okay to wake up at 7 and grind until 10 because I know at the end of the day, I will get money and improve my livelihoods and improve my family's life, and I'll have ways to put money on the table. So I don't mind doing the hard work. I don't believe in anything comes overnight. I don't believe in overnight success. I just think I am perfectly okay to keep grinding, keep working on something, see our goal. And sometimes this is where I think this generation, Gen Z, struggle with. Like, as he said, you don't know how to work hard. You don't know how to, whether I don't want to do this job, but it's paying me. Like me, I always say, I'm okay to go sell bananas. I need to put food on the table. I need to provide for my family. I am, like, literally, I can't say I'll wake up today and I'm a full-time content creator. That to me, it looks good, and the stuff that you get out of it, but does it provide any economic empowerment? And I think millennials, I don't know a millennial who's not afraid of poverty. Like, I think that is your biggest fear. Poverty is like a genuine fear. So it's always, our parents were like, to them, education, like my parents, education was everything. It's that hustle, working hard in school, getting a job after that, building businesses, getting a really good career, engineers, doctors, lawyers. Those were your 3 things that you should do. And sometimes I think there's a truth to that. Focus on careers that provide like economic benefit if you can, and if you can get a job, because it does translate to money and value that you can grow your life.
But I think that's where the millennials are stuck in mind because like right now a content creator could be earning more than what a lawyer, doctor, engineer is earning just, from doing whatever they're doing. And he or she doesn't have to wake up at 9 or like 8 and then grind until atamka 11 a shoot content yake 2 hours a post aenda lale apate all those placements from brands.
I can't imagine such a life, but you wake up at 11 o'clock.
I think millennials don't glorify suffering, they just don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, I can tell you for a fact I don't have a problem.
That's the point. So Gen Zs have a problem with it.
I don't like, that's true.
You don't stress.
No one.
Unajua sisi,
no, but even no one stress, but sometimes it's a very essential part of life. You're like, I can see this hill, but I'll push through because I know at the end there's a reward. And I'm okay with that. Pushing through mindset. Like,
so Gen Zs, unaona venye, I'll just say Gen Zs make work easier.
Yeah. Like, how can I get that reward faster without pushing through that long?
If you have to grind from 9 to 5, Gen Zs will try to make that grinding from like
11
to 2. And they'll still make the same amount of money you'll make in that day. That's where we want to get. That's our... Because as we were growing up, to penye tumefika, life got easier.
Okay.
Like, phones got better, internet got better.
So much more information.
Infrastructure got better, information got better, got reachable, schools got better. You see, so even us, we want to get better in a way that we don't have to live the past life of like having to suffer in a way, as in us, we have a problem with that suffering.
Okay. I guess, like, for me, suffering, when someone tells me they're suffering is going to war, dying, like, you know, all these bad things. Like, working hard is not suffering. Being told to wake up at 7 and work and put a smile on your face and, like, grind through, like, something you don't really actually believe in, but you know you're getting paid at the end. That's, to me, that's
worse.
That's okay.
That's actually worse.
Okay to me,
especially that you don't believe in, so you're suffering.
I am able, as a millennial, I'm able to separate the need to find passion and vibes in a job and money.
It's not vibes. It's
Is
not
it?
clearly. It's not vibes.
How do you wake up at 11 o'clock and you don't have a job?
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
Let me tell you.
We don't care.
It's because
Is that okay?
it's not vibes. It's not vibes. Gen Zs do what makes them happy, and they'll try to make what makes them happy profitable.
Exactly.
That's why when you go to look for work, you don't go like, you want to do music production. You won't go to like at a lawyer's office looking for work. Why?
Okay.
As in, you'll go to the music scene where you want to be happy. As much as Aita Kulipa in the first like few years, you'll still be doing what you love.
And are your parents happy with this?
Yeah, they understand.
I think that also plays a part. I think that also plays a part in that, because most parents have also begun having that kind of mindset where it's a new generation. Like, they have to understand, like, wait, for a time it was being fought, like, you know, no, just do engineering, just do law. But after a while, I'm not gonna say all, but some parents have come to terms with the fact that it's a new age. So many things are developing, so many things are coming up, so many new jobs that don't involve 9 to 5 or sitting on a desk or wearing a suit. So many things are coming up that can be profitable. So it's better to support your child in whatever they want to do rather than just force them to do something they don't want. And we see how many adults, they're pushing through, but they're so miserable. Like, uko na pesa zote, but you're just sad. Man, but so I think parents also don't want that for their children. So
Just sad.
I think that also.
During the time period of where you were working, you weren't like really happy. As in, the money you got, the working hard you worked hard for. At some time, utajipata tu. At some point, you're like, okay, I got the money, but I wasn't. As in, you'll be sad. And even after the job ends, you'll have been sad for like 20 years on the job. Even after you retire, you're just still sad for no reason.
What is this happiness you guys talk about? Like, I want... Okay, sorry.
What I wanted to say is like, because as she has said, we live in the world of information where information is easy to get. So for the Gen Z, maybe you want to do like music, or you want to do singing or art. I mean, to get those skills, or when you go to the internet, I'm sure there's a lot of resources on that. But compared to the millennials, maybe in their time, they wanted to pursue careers but maybe because they weren't able to get those resources, they were forced into careers that they weren't happy to do. But for the Gen Z, I mean, you can, once you finish high school, you can choose either to be a doctor or to be an artist. I think that's a choice that wasn't popular with the millennials. So they can be like, yes, they have the money, but they can be gutted. They didn't get to enjoy the careers they wanted.
For me, talking as a millennial, I don't think I was ever forced to go a certain way with my career, which I think, I mean, many millennials may have a different narrative. But I think what I liked that my parents enforced was have a career that provides an economic empowerment to you. Because out of that, you have that base and that foundation that you can even start doing like extra things on the side. If you want to be a musician on the side, that's okay. This idea of following passion, sometimes I think passion is overrated, because you can follow passion and end up broke, and then you just end up being like a, it's then you just end up being a load to your family. So I think I still stand strong, even though I'm bringing up kids who are from the alpha generation and want to be musicians. I'm like, at the end of the day, economic empowerment. I don't want to have to bring up my child until the age of 50, supporting them. Like, I want you to be able to fly and do things on your own. And it's just trying to figure out, like, what that is.
Can I challenge that point?
Of course.
I think by now, all careers are economically, they can empower you economically in, like, all there's no, like, specific career right now that we can say is the most profitable. All careers. They are, but all careers still can empower you. As in, if you focus on your music is feeding families right now. If you focus on photography is feeding families right now. Videography, like, all this. Plus, like, at that time, like the millennial time.
Wow, the time of the millennial.
Like the millennial time. Those careers were like the peak. That's why people were like, there's this new plus at that time they were new. Like, being doctors was what there were, like, very few people who are doctors, and then now those careers leveled up to the point where a lot of people are doctors now, a lot of people are lawyers now. It's the same way with Gen Zs. In some time, our careers that people are pursuing with passion, they'll level up. They'll still level up. Music will level up. All these artistic jobs, they'll still level up, and they'll be hiyo time hata watu ndio watakuwa wanapigania to be artist. They want to enter into the music scene to get a piece of that cake. That CC Gen Zs, maybe I wish, I really hope so, to elevate all these artistic careers to the point where people will want to get into our careers now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess also my challenge with that is when you talk about some of these career choices, like an artist, like, I don't think, as you said, I don't think you know what it is to have a career and manage it like a career. You can say you want to be an artist and you want to be a musician, but if I strongly believe if you're working from 11 to 2, as you said, like, that is not what it takes to be successful. Like, it takes a lot of grinding, repetition, consistency, push. So, like, for me, that's where I also challenge. Sometimes there's, like, with these other careers, it is okay to be kind of lax, to be less professional than, like, those other careers out there, like engineers and doctors, which, is a challenge, but. Lies.
From what age?
From what age?
From what age?
Brings the question.
Yes. There is a lot of use of drugs to medicate themselves, to be, like, I don't know why drugs are like your go-to strategy for everything.
They're nice.
They're nice. I understand they're nice. There is a time for drugs and there's a time for no drugs. Like, you can't be high. Like, why? Monday to Friday after work, that is your way to cope. I understand they're nice. I like nice things.
Drugs like the issue of drugs. Okay, then they're still nice, but okay, the issue about drugs is that drugs is not a problem that started with Gen Z.
It used to be hidden.
It used to be hidden, design. As in, if someone was doing drugs as a millennial, even their brother wouldn't know, and you'd be in the same house.
True.
I don't know. I don't actually agree with that statement.
Yeah, I think I agree.
It's true.
Look at them telling me it's true.
But
Maybe during the age of millennials,
Sorry.
during the age of millennials. Okay, an example is I could use is like during the last year campaigns, Wajakoya came with the marijuana conversation.
Amen.
Bangi, 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 bangi. Haya, bas. Haya. Bangi, bangi, bangi.
And it was like so big. I mean, before I think even during the 2000s, it was like really hard to bring up a conversation on marijuana. But so for the drug use, I think the more like we focus on the stories, the more we think like the drug use is being elevated by the Gen Z. But I believe it has been there ever since the millennials, even before the millennials. I mean, people use drugs to like as a gateway, like to feel nice, as he says. But so now because we have like all the cameras and you can show everything, you can do exposés. We tend to think like it has grown, but I do believe it has been there.
Okay. I mean, Kelly, do you want to say something on this?
Yeah, like there's literally millennials and even older people from Shags and so many more places that consume drugs, like even drugs you probably never heard of, and in their daily basis. Now, it's someone who will wake up, consume this drug, go to someone's shamba, lima the whole day, like still doing drugs. Why aren't they called druggies? It's just Gen Zs who are the druggies, but we're doing the same thing. They leave that shamba job, go to the liquor store with their friends with maybe that small money, some of the small money they've been given, drink up. That's a Monday. Go home, even too, with some 2 tomatoes. Like even them, they just like it's for them. I guess maybe it's a survival. I don't know. I wouldn't know why they do it, but I don't think it's a Gen Z thing. I think it's always been there. There was also an age of our parents tell us there was an age of cocaine in this country. Like it's just that it wasn't talked about. It's just that the way Alboa said, right now there's so much like cameras and stuff like that. So people think now it's us who are doing it more. But it's always been there, just that there was no one to document or show you that we are doing drugs. It's just that Gen Z document themselves.
Gen Zs are proud of doing drugs.
Yes. Kitambo, it used to be like a taboo.
It used to be, Gen Zs are doing drugs openly. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's
Like-
the problem.
Okay, do you guys think it is a problem to do drugs every day?
At our age.
Yeah, at your age. You don't think that's
No.
a problem? It's not a problem.
I think
Okay, it is a problem, but people have done it. Like,
Okay, I mean, also people have done pretty bad things. They've killed people, they've stolen, jumped off cliffs. Like, do you do things because people have done them?
no.
Okay,
But
uh-huh.
it's a choice.
Yeah.
It's a choice you make, and you have to live by your choice.
Yeah.
And if you have to live by your choices openly right now, like with this Gen Z age, you'll just do it.
Okay.
Kitambo, you'll make your choice to be a drug addict, but like not a drug addict, but a druggie. Drug addict is too much.
Oh.
But you'll
What's the difference?
The difference is
Okay.
you can like a drug addict can't function without drugs, like at all. Like you have to be like.
But you can be a functioning drug addict.
But
Like you can function.
That usually means you're on drugs and you're functioning.
Yes.
Gen Zs can be off drugs and functioning. I can't speak for all, like everyone,
It's just that
but
there'll be that one night where Gen Zs will do drugs na itafikia
die.
wazazi.
Okay.
That's the problem.
When
There'll just
you
be
teach
that
the
one
parents-
night. There'll be just that one night where it'll be a crazy night na itafikia wazazi, ifikie the media, ifikie everyone,
Okay.
basically. And that is when everyone will consider it a problem. But it's just that night. People were high.
I guess for me, when I look at like drug and alcohol, like I remember the first time I even like touched alcohol was in my parents' house. Like my dad gave us alcohol, here, drink this. Talked about when you should drink this, why you should drink this. How do you know if you're taking it too far? I don't know whether those conversations happen.
it happened for me.
No.
It
So
happened.
for me, I use it as a reward. And I am very okay to, because I realize it is, the use of drugs can impact my work, can impact me. As I said, I wake up early. I will not wake up early if I have boozed the night before, if I have a hangover, and it impacts my work, which impacts how much value I can and money I can make. So, and I think, like, I don't know whether you guys are aware of, and I feel like parents lecturing children, but whether you're aware of the impact of alcohol on the body, or even like any other recreational drugs that are hard on the body, you age faster. You're not as sharp. Like, there's all these things where I'm like, to me, that is suffering. That is what I call suffering. When I can't be the best version of myself and bring my best version so that I can add value to the world.
So I think on that note, I think Gen Zs, not all, some, like most of them have become adaptable to functioning on drugs, whereas most millennials can't. Like, they really can't. Like, alcohol will like take them to the ground. Like, you know, drugs will just, like, not to the ground like dead. I mean, like, it will put you down. The way you're saying, you won't be able to.
And you guys will also grow old by there, I'm telling you.
But
remember this conversation when you're 10 years from now.
That's the thing.
Your
comeback will not be
it won't be as fast. I'm not refusing.
When you have an hour for 3 days, you're like, is this really
I'm not
worth
refusing, but you're talking to 20-year-olds, 18, 19, 20, 21. No one is old. No one is probably thinking.
But this is what I'm saying. I listened to my parents and they told me about. I'm like, okay, thanks for the advice. Now I know that when it comes to alcohol, I will tread carefully. When it comes to drugs, I will tread carefully. There's things like addiction. There's like very aware of these things.
I think on that note, some of our parents were hypocrites when it came to that, because my dad did the same thing. Like, he gave us like alcohol and he was like, you know, you drink and then you'll decide if this is like a path you want to take. And he's the same guy drinking beer every night, whiskey every day in the house. So like, you can't tell me this and then expect me to do this. Like, I also think that's a factor that plays into, your dad has like a storage cabinet with liquors and everything, and then he's like, don't drink, man. What? So it's not, I don't think it's like, it makes sense to preach, you know, water and drink wine. If you're gonna tell me, like, I'm assuming your parents told you that and practiced like what they told you.
I mean, none of my parents, thankfully, were alcoholics, but there was alcohol in the house. But like, I wouldn't say they drank every day. It was, again, on very special occasions when we'd go out or celebrating. And I think that's where, for me, yeah, this culture of using alcohol as a, you know, celebratory is where I got those habits from.
So I guess it depends also on that. So
I think the numbers match.
The numbers.
I think the numbers match. I mean, Gen Z's doing drugs and millennials doing drugs.
Right now, you'll go to a club and find both of them on the same table doing the same thing. Like, it's crazy.
The video itafikia wazazi, there'll be like 5 millennials in that video. Mark my word.
True. Doing the same
like
thing.
5 millennials and like 15 Gen Zs. But utapata hadi bash yenye ilikuwa imeitwa ni hao millennials walipanga. Hakuna venye Gen Zs watapangana. Okay, they can. But in serious issues like doing drugs in like the way everyone considers it like a problem, can't be a Gen Z problem.
In fact, I have like millennial friends who throw bashes with more drugs than a Gen Z would throw a bash with drugs.
Because they have more money.
But like, what are they trying to say? See, like, that the ones who are drinking that, like, even if they wouldn't have invited the Gen Zs, let me say, it's them who would have consumed those drugs. So it's only Gen Zs being looked at like you're the ones consuming a lot of drugs, but millennials are not being looked at like they're also consuming a lot of drugs.
So what I'm trying to hear, I'm hearing from you guys, you think the generation before have a lot to blame, and your parents have a lot to blame around your relationship with drugs.
Yeah, and the internet.
So wow, so nothing is you guys, now you're not taking any accountability. Has anyone forced you to take this drugs?
No.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday,
I was
Friday.
also going to say, you had asked a question to, I think, Bidan, when you asked, like, do you think it's right or something?
Yeah.
I don't think it's right. I think that's also just a decision an individual makes to do such things. Like, obviously, it depends and varies from person to person, problem to problem. But I think that's still a decision you make. To wake up and take a shot, you made that decision, obviously. So it's just that.
But I also think there's a point that people need to understand. Sometimes it's not a decision. When you've gotten into this habit, it's an addiction, and an addiction is a disease. It's like a cancer. Like you're literally addicted. Like you cannot function. And it's why put yourself through that? Because anybody can get addicted at any point.
But that's the thing. Most can function.
Okay.
Unfortunately, like most can actually function. Not all. Like there's some who they just go. But most, you'll find they're functioning on drugs, off drugs.
I mean, and I know, like you work with these people where you know this person has drank like 2 bottles of whiskey the night before, and you see them at work the next morning and they're okay. Sometimes I don't get that.
So is it jealousy or like
you want to jealous? No, I don't think I'm jealous about that, but it's a curiosity that comes to me. How are you able to do that? I personally know I cannot do that.
So it's just hating on something you can't understand.
There's a lot of factors playing into that.
Exactly, I'm not putting that.
Tell you, Gen Zs have very strong bodies.
My friend, you're going to get to you don't stay young forever. I keep telling you.
Let me tell you, a Gen Z who's 25 is like a millennial who's 20. A Gen Z at 25 will do.
Let me tell you, then you can go running right now. Finish 10Ks. Let's see who will finish.
Bet.
Okay, we go. I'm ready. 10 kilometers.
Bet.
Let us see who will finish. There's no way.
I'll die though, but because of drugs.
There's no way you can tell me, someone like me who has, like I put a lot of thought around health and wellness. And I know the effect that drugs can have on my body. And I choose not to use it. And I do think that helps me, as I said, feeling younger, feeling well. And yeah, I don't think any day that anyone can compete and say, yeah.
I think that's also a bias from you, because if we got like a person, a millennial here who is like just normal, doing not like an average millennial who is not into health, fitness, nothing, just goes to their 9 to 5, which is not even low, just those office 9 to 5, they probably drink in the office with their colleagues. I'm sure their views wouldn't be the same. I mean, they would probably have the same views in terms of how do you guys still wake up the next day, but that I think is like coming from a point of you're hating something you because you can't understand. Like, how come you, when you drink like this, you can just go along the next day, but me nikikunywa hivyo, I'll just die. But you're speaking from a point of someone who health, wellness, fitness, everything. So you're also, you're including the fact that you will get older and our bodies will age faster. I don't think when a Gen Z is drinking, they're literally thinking of like aging.
But that's interesting, because I used to think of that when I was your age.
I don't think anyone else.
It's vibes, okay.
Yeah. Nowadays, no one cares to live like at that old. No one wants to live that.
You don't want to live for another 10. You don't want to live to be 38 like me.
But drinking right now won't make me not live for that year.
I'll
still drink at 38.
If you're drinking every day, do you think you're going to be healthy? Do you know your liver? Have you seen Uhuru?
Healthy 50-50, but alive, I'll be very much alive.
Thriving, alive and thriving.
Uhuru is a president. He's not very 100%. He was a president. He wasn't 100% okay, health wise, and okay, let's stop that. But he was still alive and very much okay.
And speaking from our perspective, like, okay, let me say my perspective, I'm not the Gen Z who drinks Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, wakes up every morning, every day. I may drink regularly on like a chance where maybe I have money, let's say. But like your stuff, Monday, Tuesday, that is also just, it's a different, like I think in every generation there's those different. I've gone on detoxes before. That's something, it's a choice. Okay. For you to wake up and do those things every day is a choice. You made that decision. I'm going to smoke today. I'm going to do this. You're the one who's deciding that. So you can also decide not to. And I've done it before. I don't know, like, that's for me. So
Yes, a couple of times actually. This is a problem that I have.
And Albert?
Well, never.
What is the longest you've gone without drugs?
When I can't. Okay, for me, I don't believe in like
Sobriety.
Okay, there's the part of like the sobriety part, and like don't indulge too much too much into drugs. I mean, becoming addicted is not fun. So what I would say is like, if you get into drugs, you must have that self-control so that you don't go overboard. I mean, it stems from a moral point of view, even because I know a lot of people get into drugs because of the peer pressure and stuff. Some have not even seen weed. They don't know weed is bangy. I mean, there's that type of, you don't know what drugs are and you get into drugs. I think that's where the problem starts. But if you have self-control, I mean, if you can like drink every day and show up at work and do, if it interferes with your work, there's a problem. If it doesn't,
just keep pushing.
Can keep going.
I mean, I guess what I'm challenging is that sometimes these drugs can spiral when you think you have control. And I think, talk to any drug addict, they thought they're in control until one day you realize, I am not in control of this thing. It's a sickness. I think that's one thing you need. Addiction is a sickness. And that's why I'm challenging you guys on this point. And I actually also don't think enough. I think when I was growing up, there was so much conversations about drugs, alcohol, sex. Like literally used to be bombarded about like the dangers of it, what happens if you overuse. Like you're constantly bombarded. I think these days that has really relaxed. As you said, you guys are very proud of showing your drug use even like online. So I think that has also been a shift in like the different generations.
But I don't think it has relaxed, because also in school.
When is what's the last campaign have you seen around drug use in this country?
Okay, if we like Nakada does campaigns. I think also like primary, all of us have there's that topic on drug and substance abuse, class 6, class 8, all that. But when you like that, your masomo ni kaa haisaidii, or it doesn't like stick at that point, because when you're like in class 4, you're not doing drugs, you haven't been exposed. But now when you come out to society and you find like people are doing drugs, they don't care about the effects. You like ride the wave.
As in, hata sisi we were sensitized. Trust me, we were sensitized all through primary.
You still need to be sensitized, clearly.
True, but okay. We were still sensitized. Like the conversations were going on, and they still do. But after that, you come and there's information everywhere, and not from just like one side of where everyone says like drugs are bad, drugs are dangerous. You'll just come home, research on drugs one night, and then you'll make an informed decision. As in, you'll get views from people who do drugs every day. You'll get opinions from people who do drugs monthly. You'll get opinions from people who do drugs yearly, annually. But
the subscription based.
Exactly. As in, utakuja, you'll get all the analysis and make a very informed decision about how you want to take your drug use.
Okay.
Like, it's just informed. Uliza mtu decision yake, that's all. Yeah.
Do you feel jealous? Yeah. Me, like honestly, I never feel jealous. Like I feel like the story you're telling me about that chick. You're 22, you're drunk by 12 o'clock. Where are you going to rehab? What is your life looking like? This is Kenya, guys.
Let me tell you something.
Let me tell you that chick will end up in a grave 20 years from now, no one knowing what to do with it. Like, we don't have the support in a country to deal with drug addicts. Let me travel out. USA, there are hospitals. There's so much support from the government. Kenya, you don't know how to deal with addiction.
Other thing is, Kenyans don't even do drugs that land people in like the rehabs in America or like outside countries.
But I think you're coming from that point where, like reality on the ground. Like some of these rehab centers have people who have drug addictions to some hard drugs.
But I know Gen Zs.
Yeah.
They're not Gen Zs.
I do think they are some parents.
They are not.
There's no one in rehab.
Okay, just ask, like I want to know what the limit.
Visit a rehab right now.
There's no Gen Z there who did Molly and is in rehab.
I will promise you.
True.
I will promise.
Let's go visit a rehab right now.
We thank you, millennials, because you fought the fight.
That's true.
You fought the fight from all the shame. When you umesema tu, from all the shame, all the stigma. Nyinyi ndio mlipitia bana. Our generation just came to like
enjoy the fruits.
Exactly, as in everything was, as in when millennials started doing drugs, it became like a topic, and then the shame came on top of it because not many people were agreeing with what like us, like agreeing with millennials doing drugs. Most people were like, "Hao wanapotea." You see, and then as we were just kids, we didn't know about drugs. And then, so when now Gen Zs came to pick up where the millennials left off, now we're doing drugs with no shame. So we have to say thank you. Nindo mlipitia, so
yeah, the millennials are like, you know what we suffered. You go ahead. You do it. And now Gen Zs just came to do it. Like there was no struggling. Like it's the millennials that struggled through all that. Like it's the generation before the millennials that was like, shame on this, shame on this, shame on this. So the millennials are feeling kind of bad. So they paved the way slowly. By the time Gen Zs were coming up, it was already a thing.
Millennials started interacting with Gen Zs. Yeah.
And millennials are the brothers and the sisters and like the cousins and those uncles who still buy you the liquor. Like they're the ones who paved that way for you to just do what you want.
They're like, hey, mi mamangu alinikazia nikikunywa fanya aje weshike ikrom. Jifiche mahali kata man.
Hata usijifiche.
Hata usijifiche kapa na mimi.
Mimi ni mkubwa, si ni utasema mimi ndio nimekubaia.
Kapa na mimi.
Like I think of times when I have had like younger generations and like maybe my cousins come over and it's a celebratory mood and they've asked for booze and I will give them. But I think for me, I always think of what that limit is. Like I want you to feel safe to consume drugs in my presence, yes. But I do think there is a limit and a conversation that needs to happen. I do want to be a good role model to you because as you said, I've walked this path. I have seen the dangers of drugs, and I don't know why we are just now focusing on drugs, but I've seen dangers of drugs. I have seen the benefits of working hard. I have seen the benefits of consistency. I've seen the benefits of like many good and bad things, and that is what I want like to help the Gen Zs with. Like guys, like just watch for this like red flags on these topics. Because I think if you continue in this trend of overusing drugs every day, like it will become normal and then it will be normalized and then like no shame will be attached to it. Shame sometimes is good. Fear sometimes is good. Like I think you need like a level of fear. Like my kids have to fear me to respect me. Maybe I'm called a radical parent, but that fear of, oh my God, if my mother finds out, I think, or if this person finds out who I respect is very important. So I try to be mindful, I guess.
But I think that mentality is what raised those beta millennials. Like the ones who you have to...
not bitter by the
you know, you're talking from your perspective. As we are talking from the perspective of the millennials we've interacted with, like through our lives. They are the ones who are like, my parents was like this, you know, they were doing this, as in... You're saying you've seen the benefits of hard work and the non-benefits of doing drugs. There's others who have seen the benefits of doing drugs and the non-benefits of hard working. Like you're speaking from you're speaking from the perspective of millennials out there who we've interacted with. So yeah, I guess.
Like as we've interacted with millennials who are tired of being mentors.
They just want to live.
They just want to live like...
Yeah, but then because maybe I just want to live. I don't want to mentor anyone. I don't want to parent anyone. I don't want to be looked at. But at the end of the day, you are given that, like, I know someone somewhere is looking up at me, and unfortunately, maybe that's what it is to be a millennial. Be like, yeah, sawa, this is my role and I take it seriously.
Millennials had a lot of eyes on them. That's why I think, as in, there was a lot of eyes on what you were doing, how your life is going to turn out. Like, your every move, there's someone watching. Gen Zs don't
Yeah,
really
there's-
do that.
So there's no one caring and watching for you guys
They
out.
do.
Yeah.
But it's not like those very judgmental eyes on you.
Yeah. It's not
Like-
that perspective of you have to fear me to respect me. You just have to respect
You
me.
just have to respect me.
That's
You go
all.
about your life, but respect some boundaries. Like, don't go doing drugs in my house, but go do drugs. Me, I won't tell you to not do drugs, but don't do drugs in my house. Those are the kind of rules we grow up with. Like,
Because-
there's no
sorry.
fear. There's no not oppression, but there's no fear.
So
There's
you
no
tell me you
shame.
don't have anything you fear. There's nothing you're ashamed
There's fear.
of. Okay.
There's
What is your
fear.
fears? Yeah.
That's a very long
Suffering.
conversation, but suffering
Suffering.
mostly.
So working in a 9 to 5, because I think
Yeah.
you've equated suffering in a working in a 9 to 5 is for you. Poverty is not a fear.
It is.
It is
That's
still a
why
fear.
you innovate new ways to make money faster. Then millennials are like, how the fuck did you make money so fast and you didn't even do anything?
I'm sure all
mad
these
now.
people who con people on you where the Gen Zs.
Yeah.
Gen
I
Zs
agree.
looking for money, and that's where it might be
But
not
that's like
beneficial
looking
to
for
you.
fast money.
It's
And
still
I think
money.
millennials don't believe in
Fast money.
fast money. I believe in working, and that's a recipe that has worked for our generation. I need to see someone who I can say has proved that wrong
But for us,
and
it's a lifestyle.
sustained that lifestyle.
For us, it's a lifestyle. Man, I can give. Azia twerked, not really twerked, but she danced, and now she is in a committee by the government.
No, that
for
committee
what?
died, my friend.
But Ali, she made the cut.
Based on what? Like, I think that's why that scene
Yeah,
was
but
dissolved. Like, I think
the
that's why
argument.
that's why it was
the
dissolved.
argument.
Yeah.
That's the argument now.
Yeah.
She's as in, kuna examples ka Aziad wengi sana who get like their way in life with doing very minimal things. Na sasa sisi tumeona kuna hiyo possibility, we will chase that.
So you're going to dance on TikTok.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
it gets me money, I'll
mean-
break my back.
Too much in your feelings. Like, there's just so much feeling with everything. Like, I don't know, not everything requires to be in your feelings. Some things require, let's put these feelings aside, let's grind, let's figure this out. I'll come back and cry about it later. So I think like the Gen Zs are so much in their feelings. There's so much sometimes weaponizing like mental health and saying, I have this problem. And then when you talk about it, you look like a very weak person, or you're just labeling and judging. So for me, yes, I do think, yes, they're a bit weak, and yeah, they need some strengthening.
I can go back to like it depends on the upbringing also from where you have been brought up. I mean, so for me, somebody like if you tell me like a 22-year-old is like weak-minded and say it's a male, I'd be like, why are you weak-minded? as a man, to me, you must be like, there's that strength in your mental to like keep going, keep pushing. If not, then you have like a problem or something, or you're stressed. Because when you are young, at 22, you must be like full of energy to like try new stuff, do a lot. But once you are like weak-minded, something has happened to you.
And that's plus women as well. I mean, you just talked about men, but yeah.
So for the women, I don't know.
You don't identify as a woman.
I won't even go to upbringing, but I'll just ask a question. Like, don't you think like handling situations without feelings has caused harm? Even not to our generation, but to all the generations. Because some parents, as in, you find the same person you're saying they have a weak mind didn't come from them. As in, they had a steady, their upbringing was fine, but there's a point where the people around you will handle a lot of the situations that need feelings, a lot of situations that need feelings. In short, they'll handle it without feelings. Like bringing up a child, you'll bring up your child in a way that utamonyesha glorifying hard work is the best thing you can do, which is okay, but you'll forget that a child still needs love, a child still needs care, as in a child still needs to feel safe. So that is where it stems from. They're not weak-minded because at ilianza leo. You have to dig deeper and find.
But I think what I'm trying to say is, like, don't give a child too much. Like, you know, there's sheltering a child from like the reality of what is outside of their home. Like, because these children will grow up to be in societies.
I don't think Gen Zs have that problem, because Gen Zs, not most, most of them will grow up in a situation where there's not too much of comfort around you. Each generation inakuja, we have to be worried.
I think this also just ties into the other point, because I really don't think Gen Zs are soft because of upbringing, because most Gen Zs were not brought up by parents who are soft. I think that's the generation that I think you're confusing us with. I don't know if it's Gen X. They're too tall, they look like Gen Zs, so they're the ones who have all this softness and entitlement. But I think most Gen Zs were just brought up in a tough love kind of environment, you know, and all that. So I don't think they grew up like at soft or anything. It's just that nowadays, like, emotions are more of something that are not to be shamed. Like, the shame on emotions is off, especially being sad, being depressed, I don't refuse that we're
So are you okay with, like, say someone how, like, Sakaja cried yesterday?
Your Excellency, sorry. Your Excellency, ni uchungu ya watoto.
So you think it's admirable and it's not, it's like...
It's okay.
It's okay. We don't
That's all.
We won't shame you,
praise you.
We won't praise or shame you.
So imagine if you're in a workplace, every day there's someone crying about something. Oh my God, this person didn't say hi to me in the morning. Oh my God, my lunch is not nice. Oh my God,
it depends on what you're crying.
But you guys are saying it's okay to start showing emotions at any time, at any point.
Sakata was feeding children who are hungry children. If you're a hungry child, you'll cry.
If you told us he was crying because that he lost his kid, now that's like, it depends on the situation, obviously.
If someone is crying about some bullshit, you'll be like, hey, wait, bro.
Even as a Gen Z, it will be like, what about?
That's what I'm saying. Even as a millennial, usually I'm like, yo, man.
That's Gen X behavior, crying over everything. It's just that Gen Zs don't see the shame in that crying. But obviously, it depends on what you're crying about. Like, even me, I would tell you for crying for some, like, dumb, stupid thing. But if you're genuinely, like, in a bad position or in a situation where it's, like, sad and everything, I think millennials tend to want you to handle that with, you know, like, roho ngumu. You just get over it, get through it, utaenda kulilia kwenu. But Gen Zs, you can have your emotion when you're at it and it's fine. Like, we can either leave you to your space or support you, but it's fine.
But let me ask you if this is like a pattern, as I asked, if it's a pattern. I'm okay when something happens and you feel very emotional. There's very many times I've, like, cried in public when I felt, like, very overwhelmed. But my problem if that is always the reaction to something. Crying. Every time, every single and over, like,
Gen
issues
Zs don't cry. Actually,
you guys don't cry?
Gen Zs don't cry a lot. They just cry when they have to.
Yeah.
When they feel like they want to cry. But okay, Gen Zs are not soft-minded. It depends on who you meet.
Yeah. You know,
but how do I know, that's my point. How do I know when this word is being misused or being used as a way to manipulate or weaponize, like, or make me seem like, since I've told you I have this, give me space and don't ask me. I've told you I'm an anxious person. I've told you I'm a depressed person. don't expect much from me, like in the workplace. How are people in the workplace meant to interact with people like that?
Unfortunately, it's just the nature of a human being. You cannot tell when someone is taking advantage of you until it's too late. Like, it doesn't have to be on mental health. It can be on anything. People take advantage of people all the time on everything. So I think just because mental health is a new thing and it's come up, especially when our generation is starting to work, now that's what they're taking advantage of. But even in the past, there's other things people take advantage of with you at work. Like, it's just that this time it's people using the mental health thing. That doesn't mean like now it's a bad thing. It's all Gen Zs are crying everywhere, saying they're depressed. People just misuse it because they know what they can get from it. Like, it's a human nature thing. I don't think it's a Gen Z thing. It's just that it is this the mental health thing. They imewapata sasa at that point.
Yeah, but I mean, I think what you said is right. There's more occurrences of this behavior. Okay, like it's very hard to hear millennials say that. Like, yes, and I'm not like discounting or disapproving like mental health. I completely understand that it happens, but I think it's just the occurrences that it happens and the amounts of times you have to just deal with this and be like, I don't know, I'm not sure. At the end of the day, bringing this back into the context of our workplace, like, this is an individual who is, you know, either costing you money or costing your business something, and then this is always happening. Like, it's very hard to understand how to deal with this situation.
Okay. I think Gen Zs have found a way to deal with it. Like
drugs.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, there are options. Like, people have, like, Gen Zs have started talking about all these topics. Mental health issues were there. It's just that for millennials and the generations before, they couldn't talk about it because no one will understand. So if you had depression or you had a mental illness, you'll just keep it to yourself. You won't talk about it. Itakukula. You won't talk about it. You'll just suppress it. Ile ya rongomo. Unaamka, you feel you don't even know how to explain it because depression was not even a word at that time, like a sensitized word, like a household name. So you'll just wake up feeling some type of way, but you'll be like, as much as I feel like this, from Gomu Roju to end, you see, and that will stem into another problem.
It's interesting because me, like, I can tell you there are days where I'm like, man, if I don't have to get up, I won't. But I'm like, I refuse. Like, there's something that instinctively tells me, you have to get up, you have to go, push. Like, even, like, unless I am literally sick, like, I will listen to my body. But, like, say it's just a mind thing, like, I always, and maybe that's the millennial in me, maybe push past that thought and just push. Like, I will always tell myself, I just pray, like, this depression, I never get there. Like, I have to if I'm feeling, I don't have to do this, I will push and spite up myself, figure ways to bring up my vibrations, go for a run, eat good food. Drugs and alcohol are depressants. Again, like, just try avoid all those things that I personally think could contribute to those feelings.
But do you know why it became like mental health issues became a very big issue? It's because Gen Zs are trying to, I don't know how to put it in what, but Gen Zs are trying to think of another person. What if your child was going through this and they can't talk about it? Imagine your child going through depression and they can't tell you, they can't talk about it. What I got to roju, and then you find your child in the streets doing drugs because they have this thing in their mind that they don't understand. The mind is a very big thing. I think it's a very important. You have to understand it first. That's why we are trying to do it. People right now, it can be the radical age where people are using depression as a weapon, as an excuse. But people, out of all that, what comes out of it is understanding. So that I'm not even understanding, just like there's no stigma around it, design. Even another person can talk about it. Even if it's not a Gen Z, a millennial can come out and say, I've had depression, I just didn't know how to say it. Yeah, that's they're not strong, they're just in tune with their emotions.
Or the way you're saying, like, sometimes you feel like you don't want to wake up, but you still do.
Is that depression?
No, I mean like now when it gets to that point where you're like really you really can't, and it's not a sick thing, physical, you're really just feeling some type of way. I think for Gen Z it has become, just like I said, it's okay. Like we've been told like information is out there, research has been done, and and our generation has been told it's okay to feel like that. I think the past generations it wasn't okay. When you're caught just sleeping around that you're sad, what are you sad about?
Ebu get up
and go and do this.
something in your life.
The reaction now will be different.
Yeah,
Next time
exactly.
when mahali, you start, people will be like, unafanya nini hapo? They'll be like, what is going on? And then you'll be like, I don't talk about it.
Like I think I have heard and I've listened that we possibly millennials could be the problem, but I don't think all millennials are the same. I do think there are top shelf millennials that maybe you can learn and watch. So I think that has been eye-opening for me. I personally didn't think millennials can be one of the people who influence your behavior. I still feel very strongly the recipe of like hard work, reducing the guilty human pleasures, the drug use can definitely improve, and just taking care of like mind, body, soul is my advice to Gen Zs. Yeah.
Well, I can't really like advise or say something, but I do agree like with Wangare's point on like working hard and consistency, because I do believe on any career that you set your mind to, like you have to put in the work, even if it is like to become an artist or a painter. You have to like put in the extra hours, otherwise you won't like be successful as you would wish to be. So like I do agree with the millennials on having like set for this template on how like you can succeed in this life, because theirs is like tried and tested. For ours it's the maybe an example is like content creation. Yes, it is something like we understand now, but it's not yet like you can say like my child, I want like for the career path, it's not like a trusted career path. Maybe he can want to be a content creator, but the content that maybe wants to shoot is not good or is not creative. So I do believe millennials have set a template for like success or of how you can go about succeeding in your career.
My advice to millennials. Be woke. Yeah. Be woke. Not in a bad way, but try and understand before criticizing. That's just literally what it means. Not be woke in some be enlightened. Be woke in how you handle situations with Gen Zs. Before criticizing a Gen Z, a Gen Alpha, understand how they're living their life. Understand the times they're living in, and then make it, as in from there, if you understand it, if you don't understand it, don't make a comment, please, as in don't comment on a life you don't understand. If you understand it, make your comment. Yeah.
Tough life, eh?
Tough, man. It's tough, but it's the
We gotta
truth.
talk.
For Gen Zs though, keep doing what you're doing. You're amazing. Gen Zs for life. Amen.
I think what I have to say is, to millennials should be open-minded. Like I think they refuse to accept that, maybe not all, but I guess some refuse to accept how times have changed, how things have changed, how things are happening right now, what is everything that's out there right now. And everything that's out there right now is what influences people in societies. So they refuse to accept that things have changed. You should just go along with this the way it is. That's the way I was told. That's the way it should be. But no, things change. So be open-minded to those changes. Adapt to them. And as you said, if you don't understand, leave it alone. Don't start arguing and contradicting and saying things about things you don't understand. So I guess that's it.
That's it. Mic drop.
9 to 5 has good vibes, but 9 to 5 with Gary has